start breaking the game and bust out some crazy picks. Now, you mentioned Rek'Sai. That is most likely a jungler when it gets to Game 4, Game 5. I've heard rumblings that Rek'Sai top might be back in certain scenarios. Who knows?
Okay. It's really nice into matchups that you can kind of just out-sustain your way through. If you can pick it up into something like the Ambessa, I don't mind that matchup in a lot of situations. I would be surprised to see it right here. I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of these standard pickups. I mean, surely you just slammed the Rumble right here. It's available. It's open for you. No, actually, IYY going to be able to pick up his Wukong first of all. That does work very well if you can get the Rumble in his later stages, but do AL want to give this priority pick over?
Yeah, I thought that with the Aurora ban from FPX that is exactly what they were trying to prompt themselves for, but I guess they were fearing the Annie Wukong power combo for Tarzan and Shanks on the other side, so trying to deny and split that duo up. Anyone's Legend will now secure Annie so that Kael doesn't get it for himself, but now, like you said, Anyone's Legend get to secure themselves two strong AP solo laners that have a huge mid-game spike, and in the case of Annie, strong engage power.
Still, the fact that the Gwen does stay up and available does mean you can lock this one in, and you can play this one very aggressively right here, Ashi. You want to be bullying Flandre around as much as possible early on, and once you get super late into the game, that needlework just does a ton of damage. At the same time, it does work a little bit differently to the Rumble and the Wukong. Those champions are much more about that wombo combo, and you don't really add anything to that right here. You happy about this, Poppy? You looking excited for that one?
So here's the thing. This could easily be a Poppy for Tarzan. However, Kael also plays this champion. So this is a good flex pick. It hides cards for Anyone's Legend, and it can open up an angle for a more non-traditional jungle to come through for Tarzan. Remember, Annie is great with carry junglers because you guarantee the engage and pick opportunity onto one target, and as long as Tarzan brings a ton of damage with whatever he goes with, something like a Zed, maybe something else. Who knows? Kiana? Kiana?
There's a possibility. I don't know. I do think that the ban of the Rakan makes me think it's a little bit less likely to be down in the bottom lane, because that's a pretty nice matchup right here for the Poppy. You don't have to worry so much. Then again, the Rakan is just going to be strong, and also the Zyrakan has been a super strong combo, something that would work with the beginnings of a wombo that FPX have grabbed for themselves right here. I do wonder if they're going to want to take something like the Orianna off of the board, take away something nice and safe. You can always move this Galio around. That one has been moved about. Now they're just going to go towards a few more of these aggressive bot lane engaged supports. The Alistar taken off of the board does potentially open them up for the Rel if you want to go towards that. Again, just draw more members in.
Yeah, if Anyone's Legend lock in a support, then the Poppy is revealed to go to the jungle, and that would give Hope last pick options, so that more than likely, I can imagine things like the Sivir being locked in. Okay. Well, if Anyone's Legend just go for the 80 carry pick here, this still keeps things under the table for Anyone's Legend on who is playing Poppy.
Yeah, they are very much looking to use this one as a flex, as the last pick is going to be this Sivir locked in, so the late game damage is massive, but you really are quite squishy as an overall composition. You are going to need something a little bit tankier coming into either the jungle or the support role. I was wondering if the Lucian was going to come in. The second that you ban away the Kai'Sa and the Corki, those are the only two champions that can really go toe-to-toe with you down in the bottom lane, and now that you know it's going to be a Sivir, you are empowered to go towards something a little bit more aggressive if you want it. You can use it to play the early game. No, instead, they're going to move on towards the Ezreal, something that has a little bit of extra survivability, a little bit of extra map mobility. I do wonder if they're going to be lacking in the damage department, though.
I do like the extra safety of Ezreal for JiaQi. Maybe it's a response to the fact that Anyone's Legend has yet to reveal where this Poppy's going. They're suspecting that Tarzan wants to set up for this really, really powerful yet volatile carry jungler, and so they're just trying to make things as safe as possible and easy to kind of deflect those options. And with the Nico showing, this provides not only powerful engage to follow up on Cyclone, but also counter engage. It gives windows for the Galio to be able to operate in. And so in the end, Bloxxer, it is just Poppy in the jungle, Rel at support, a wombo combo for Anyone's Legend, which It's a good formula for them. I'm just a little sad.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been something even more exciting, but I still very much like what AO have been able to draft for themselves right here. I think that the Rail really rounds this composition out brilliantly. You always love to have that Magnet Storm. You can then just drop the Equalizer right on top of people's heads. You've also got pick potential between the Poppy and the Annie. You can just evaporate one of the squishier members for FPX before you get into these fights, and it's going to mean FPX going into these fights need their vision setup to be solid, otherwise walking into darkness is going to spell disaster.
For FPX, they really have good teamfight tools as well, and so if FPX are able to weather the storm against anyone's legend, their scaling window isn't necessarily as critically overbearing like Sivir when she gets to 5 items, but Gwen's going to be a terror the later the game goes on. Ezreal can be more slippery, and obviously champion like Wukong will continue to benefit the longer the game goes on. So I still think that anyone's legend, even with their late game insurance, they feel like they're on a bit of a timer here.
Yeah. And they're also just going to need to be careful as well. As much as we have been talking about how there's that ability to just burst people out wombo style over on AL, that's not to say that FPX don't have something similar to play around as well. They are very much going to need this Nico to be dealing damage though, because between the Ezreal, the Wukong, these champions really aren't going to be ripping through the heads of members that you manage to stun up in that Cyclone, in that Hero's Entrance combo. You need that extra damage from the support, and then of course from that Gwen to be ripping through people.
Let's see how both of these compositions tango against each other on the Rift. It's time to start game 1 between FPX and anyone's legend.
Okay.
No FPX Gios?
Nope, there's no FPX support whatsoever.
Man.
I was expecting there to be something, but nope, the stadium very much going to be packed out with the AL faithful right here. Oh!
Showed up. Yay! All right.
There we go.
They
were late.
They walked in. They're like, "Oh snap! Did we miss the Giles? Okay, get in the FPX FPX. Yeah."
Hey, they get it through, and that's what we want to hear. It's always nice to hear the fans cheering and chanting.
I think this is the first time I've seen a phase rush set up for Rumble, but it's just nice to have that extra movement speed to get out of bad trades against the Gwen. But it is very fast boys on the top side for anyone's legend 3-man top jungle and mid lane core.
Yeah, and that's before you press the on the hunt right here from Hope. These people are going to be speeding through these fights. I wonder if we do get a Shurelya's as well at some point, potentially, and just get the absolute, like, Mach 20 composition out of AL, sprint on into the backline. I don't care that JiaQi has a flash and a cleanse and can just E away from people. Doesn't matter. He's getting chased down regardless.
I mean, if we've seen anything about how Ezreal's can get caught out with both Flash and Arcane Shift in the previous series, I don't think JiaQi is going to be safe from that potential either. Now, FPX, IYY is going to get spotted on that Raptor camp thanks to the aggressive ward set down by anyone's legend. Both junglers are pathing from bot to top, so they're assuming that bot lane is going to be safe and left to their own devices, not be the most volatile, but trying to play for this top side. We know how important it can be if Flandre on the Rumble is able to get ahead of the Gwen early, because that makes your mid-game spike super hard, and Gwen's overall power scaling just a little bit delayed.
And you need the Gwen to get to that point where on a side lane you can't match with just a single member. You have to send a couple people, pull the members of AL around the Rift, and that would be delayed if you end up falling behind. So far, so good though. Is going to be able to get the push through for Sheer. Very interesting as well that this is going to be a teleport exhaust right here onto the Gwen. So you are very much looking to get aggressive with a combat summoner.
Decent setup from Kael. Hope not able to get that much damage on the JiaQi, though finds the Boomerang Blade on both instances. Just pushing out that wave. Tarzan did walk over a top Tribush ward, so IYY has full vision of this Poppy. We're going to see some mind games here. Tarzan just pops the steadfast presence a little early, but IYY is not going to contest because Shanks does have first move and an overall health advantage over Kara's Galio.
There's not really anything you can do to contest right here. Actually, IYY just going to head topside. Flandre turns around, is actually just going to be able to walk this one out. Not going to be too much of a worry for him right there. I was worried as well, though. That looked like it was going to be a little bit closer than it was.
I mean, unfortunately for IYY, he has no CC pre-6, and neither does Gwen. And because IYY exposes himself with the clone early, Tarzan knows that he is down a get-out-of-jail ability and is forced to use the flash.
And that's also an engage tool now gone. Once you get that level 6, you now can't just flash into the backline, get that cycling off nice and quickly. You're going to be a little bit less mobile when it comes to finding those backline members. And AO happy to take that one away. Still, the kill doesn't go over, so it's not the end of the world. You don't accelerate Flandre or Tarzan into this game early on, but it's already the pressure from AO, already that little bit of map movement coming on through, and now both these junglers are going to head back to base, take a reset through, and come back out onto the map. Looks like it's just going to be that double scuttle picked up for Tarzan. It's a small advantage, but I'll be honest, in terms of junglers in the LPL, I don't want to give small advantages to. Tarzan, very high on the list.
Yep. Tarzan is one of the few here in the LPL that can turn a small few hundred gold lead into a massive 2K gold lead by the time we get to the grub stage. And anyone's legend are already on pace. Look at this. Tarzan knows that without flash, IYY is even more susceptible to getting wall slammed by a Poppy. You cannot disrespect Poppy base damage early on.
And look, straight away, Tarzan going to head all the way up towards his chickens as well, recognizes that that's the only place IYY can go to try to get involved, and I don't know that you can actually step up to this one. Tarzan does have the smite once again, and he's also got the early move from Shanks, forcing him back on out, teleport in from Kael to potentially give a little bit of support back. Smite fight. Oh, Tarzan gets it as well. This is miserable for IYY.
IYY even used his smite, but Tarzan was just better with his usage of it. So IYY wastes time trying to get resources back for himself, misses out. So now the experience lead, hang on, bottom side, Flandre in a world of trouble, forced to flash away because it's the exhaust and needlework used by Sheer.
I really do like the exhaust being the pickup right here for Sheer. It means he can get so aggressive in these early trades. Ones that usually can be a lot closer. As soon as you have that equalizer available, that's a ton of damage, but not going to happen in this situation. It's also now going to be Tibbers just dropped on into the mid lane from Shanks, going to help him push through this minion wave. Probably looking for a reset at this point into the game. Early Drake is going to be a Cloud Drake, and, you know, as much as we talk about Cloud Drakes as not being that exciting, with all of the phase rosters available, with yourself already being hyper-mobile, you'd like this one, Sheer.
Tarzan doesn't find the wall slam onto Sheer. Flandre's taking up the first turret damage. They dodge it for now. That's a lot on that charged up shot. Flandre gets the scrap shield, but Kael can look to collapse. Maybe a flash over the wall if he wants to use it. Control ward. He knows that Flandre's there, and Kael says, surprise, baby! That's first blood for FPX, but Tarzan does pick up Sheer in the end.
Gonna be a 1-for-1, and with the push going on through the mid lane, IYY is at least going to be able to catch this wave. Shanks doesn't get to push this one in fully for free. AL, they're just being more proactive on the map at the moment. Unfortunately for them, Sheer is able to trade that one, and that's the joys of the Hallowed Mist. That ability just stops so much of that damage that Flandre and Tarzan were looking to lay down, and without the stun into the wall, it is so tricky to actually get on top of a mobile Gwen.
And even though Flandre ends up going down, the fact that they crashed the wave in and Sheer wasn't able to pick up a majority of it still ends up giving a decent gold advantage over to Flandre. I haven't seen anyone's legend being able to use some of these small advantages to look for an early dragon, so now their priority is just going to go into securing the grubs away from FPX.
And as we talked about in the previous series, some team compositions you really just can't afford to give over the grubs, and I think anything with a Gwen in it is going to be miserable to play into. If you get any access to the towers, FPX would be able to just destroy it straight through those structures. Multiple members heading on up, and we also didn't see Kael have to use that ulti, so he's still going to have that hero's entrance available to him if he wants to come and join up towards these fights. Everybody wandering on over, though. This could turn into quite the skirmish.
Flandre trying to just diminish Kael's health pool and make sure that he cannot join the fight, as now Tarzan gets aggressive into IYY. His flash was still not available. It is just coming back up. Hero's entrance from Kael arrives just to see IYY's corpse fall, but JiaQi gets the answer back onto Tarzan, but Kael falls next. Feat of Warfare secure for anyone's legend, and now Sheer is overextended and surrounded. That's anyone's legend now up 4 kills at 8 minutes.
And you just can't afford to have this happen. FPX, you've got yourself that semi-global ulti on the Galio. You need to be the ones rotating to these fights quicker. But IYY, flashless, unable to get away. And the second that you lose your jungler, FPX, everybody else that arrives is just going to be feeding into the meat grinder. It's a really nice steadfast presence right here out of Tarzan. Just stops the ability to get away. And Shanks, more than enough damage at this point into the game. Yes, you're able to trade this one back. Tarzan does go down, but all of the kills you're giving on over to these main carries as well. Hope they're able to pick one up. You're able to grab a couple onto Shanks as well. You're just feeding these main carries.
The nice thing for FPX is that because Tarzan was taken out in the fight, and IYY would get a chance to spawn first, Anyone's Legend cannot secure any grubs for themselves, and now they're down a majority of their ultimate spells. So it's going to take Anyone's Legend trying to blitz through mid lane first for priority before they can contest this objective.
And for right now, FPX, they don't look like they can get themselves any of that prio that they will need. At least IOI is going to be able to secure himself a single grub, so it's not going to be all three going over to AL right now. FPX, they do still feel confident enough to keep stepping this one up. Looks like they do want to tussle. Key ulti's down, though. I don't think that's a good idea.
Yeah, Anyone's Legend has to be very careful. Despite having a lot of powerful ultimate tools on their side, gotta wait for them to come off cooldown. And IYY fell in that fight, but now has both Flash as well as the Cyclone. So Anyone's Legend just have to be very respectful about the tools that FPX do have. This is going to slow the overall objective take. I'm curious now, what's the next step and approach here? Oh, okay, well, Shanks can just drop Tibbers on Jwei's face and say, yeah, hold this bear real quick, man.
Yeah, that's going to be a huge chunk of damage. Yes, you are now going to be missing out onto one of those one-tap available tools. So that is something that FPX can potentially play around. And they do have a bunch of their big ultis coming back off cooldown. But still, that big chunk of damage is just going to force some resets to come on through. Force a little bit of extra respect out of FPX. First grub going to get taken by AL. Can they grab that second one?
Really like that from Kael, threatening the take of that second grub. So Tarzan is forced to use a smite. I'll open up a window now for IYY to look for the final secure of this last grub, but Tarzan still has a Keeper's Verdict available. Does he want to look for a punt play? It doesn't seem like anyone else from AL can get into the river, so they're just going to concede the second grub.
There you go, 2 grubs going over to FPX. That's going to get them a little bit closer to a feat of monster slaying, something they're very much going to need after losing that warfare. And that's okay. They play that fight out slowly enough that they're able to draw a lot of those big AL ultis out, draw AL into rough positions, and they don't really have that full, quick wave clear that you really need at this point to just constantly shove these waves through and move on over. That will come in the later stages of this game, right? Between a Rumble and a Sivir, these waves will just melt in the face of AL. But at least at this point, FPX, they play that one out quite well for themselves and get 2 of the grubs.
And because Anyone's Legend has yet to take a single dragon off the Rift, they have been able to at least avoid the scenario of AL just going for a fast stacking Drake win condition of trying to force this game to be on their advantage very, very quickly. So now FPX are given a little bit more time. Remember, like we said, AL, for the most part, have a composition that would love to spike in the mid game and try to close it out as fast as possible with Hope as your only late game insurance.
Yep. First items now coming through means that they are getting well towards that spike. You really want the second item onto Hope and Shanks, and Flandre has big damage coming through again. Shanks, every single time Kael steps up to him, is just going to be popping that ulti. Now doesn't have it as IYY jumps him, but seems perfectly comfortable in the 2v1. I don't know, I guess that the Tiv is going to make things a little more even, and Jwei, oh boy.
Flash from Tarzan over the wall looking for Jwei's. Nico already used the flash and the heal. Pop Blossom is the last tool he can use to try and get out of this pickle, but Kael was looking to go for the crash down. Unfortunately, he already used both of his summoner spells as well. And in the end, Jwei does survive.
Yeah, it is a survival from FPX, but still getting threatened. That's going to be a delay on the recall again from Kael stepping up. We didn't even see what happened to all of JiaQi's health bar, but he's incredibly low too. This is opening up just so much extra vision, so much extra space in the opponent's jungle for AL. Whether or not they can turn that one back around and pick up this Drake is going to be the next available question, because the resets are coming on through. They're just going to be able to grab this one. IOI heads up towards the top side of the map instead.
Looks like finally the first dragon will fall in advantage for the Pandas. It's a 13-minute Dragon Bloxxer, so at the very least, we are getting a... trying to do quick math in my head. 28-minute soul if you're doing every other remaining dragon on time.
Yep.
So it's going to be closer to 30 minutes, so by that time, Baron's going to be up and available. Otacon will have already been secured, I imagine. So FPX, they're in a pretty good spot right now. Everyone is hitting their first item spikes across the Rift, and anytime you look at a Trinity Force composition, I always favor them going into these team fights.
And they're going to feel very good about the fact that you've now got that big item spike. IYY, though, getting a bit aggressive here. Jumped.
He wanted the Krugs. Can he get out now? Popping both casts of that Cyclone and forced to flash away. That, I'm not sure if that was worth it in the end.
Yeah, some Krugs for your flash as a Wukong. Yeah, I'm not super certain that that one is going to be exactly what FPX were looking for. Still, he has to try for these kinds of plays because he is down by so much gold. Lost out on a ton of those early camps, has also gone down in terms of kills, so getting this gold back going to be critical to hitting that second item breakpoint. As you said, that Trinity Force is going a long way towards plastering over the problems he had early on, but he can't afford to keep slipping further and further behind because Tarzan will just take over the map, and with that Sundered Sky already in inventory, Tarzan going to be incredibly tanky. So much extra survivability with that item.
And he still deals a nice bit of burst damage off of the scalings he's got. Good clone usage of Jwei. Kael getting chunked by Tibbers and Shanks. Kael should still be able to safely recall and look for a quick collapse on the top side of the map without burning his teleport unless the play happens very fast. It's a quick steal of the blue buff from Tarzan and crew. And doesn't seem like FPX can really do anything about it.
No, they're just constantly getting forced out of their own jungle, not able to go and compete at this point in the game. And it is just allowing AL to get themselves more and more of a gold lead. They're up by about 3,000 at this point, which 15 minutes in is a decent chunk to be ahead. They're going to use this pressure as well to go and start up this Rift Herald. But FPX, they are going to at least try to contest onto this one. Kael heads back to base, does have the teleport to join this fight if he wants to.
He's TPing to the mid-tier 1 so that he can be at least in range for the follow-up. FPX have to brute force their way in.
It's got to be low, though.
Rift Herald, 5k HP. Kael's the first one to walk in. Shanks is also TP'd and arrived to the river. Kael and Hope already just holding the lines. Oh, three-man Magnet Storm into the Timber stun. Jwei with the counter engage on the Pop Blossom at least breaks open the fight, but no one else from FPX can get in. Tarzan already secured the Rift Herald, and they're going to take out Sheer with them too. Kael gets dropped, and anyone's legend get to pick up the eye as well.
2 kills and the Rift Herald secured right here for AL, and the fighting is just better from them. It's only a big Pop Blossom out of Jwei that forces members back, that stops that from being a complete and utter disaster. Doesn't even look like AL are done though. They're now going to go chasing into their opposition's jungle. They are not allowing any FPX advantages in this game.
And just like we said, Bloxxer, anyone's legend is a team that is so skilled at being able to take small gold advantages and just slowly balloon them to the point where the enemy team feels pressured to do something because otherwise they're just going to get bled out. What happens? They go into the river and they get absolutely rolled.
And this is all Kael right here. The Magnet Storm is just gorgeous. And this is exactly what you need with a composition that has some wombo elements, managing to get 3 members straight in. Shanks jumps on forwards. And this, remember, is what, 17 minutes into this game? Later on, when Shanks has 2-3 items in inventory, that's just 3 people immediately dead right there. If you can find more of those big Magnet Storms for Kael, this is going to be a 1 game for his team.
Now, the only person that isn't getting insta-bursted is probably Kael on the Galio, but everyone else could be susceptible to it based on how much magic resist and health they have going for them. Now, anyone's legend are rocking a 6,000 gold lead. What the heck, Bloxxer? They were only ahead like 2,000, 3,000 just a few minutes ago.
And look where the gold is. This isn't a situation, right, where Hope is up by 4k, but everybody else is kind of fighting for scraps. This is a pretty consistent 1k to 2k gold advantage across the board right here for these AL members, and this leaves FPX scrambling to get together anywhere near enough gold. They've only just been able to put together the gold for these first items, and second items are well on the way for AL. They're going to start the wallet diff very soon, but it's not just that. It's not just that they're in an advantage in terms of gold. AL, they're just finding better angles for these fights. FPX in that previous fight, sheer ton of your damage, Riftmaker in inventory. Where was he? He was being held off to the side by Tarzan, wasn't able to get involved.
FPX have to rely so much on getting the wombo combo first, and the fact that anyone's legend sprung the trap before FPX could respond, that's just going to spell disaster for FunPlus Phoenix every single time. And that was the one window where gold range was still kind of in striking. IYY is going to send this fight. It's a little precarious here. IYY already down to nearly 50% HP. Magnastorm was used by Kael. Cyclone also used. Sun on the care. Tarzan, great wall slam. Jwei with the pop blossom into the backline, but can anyone follow up? Not really. And Tarzan says, see why at with the keeper's verdict.
Oh,
and
no!
TP from
No!
Sheer! All of his friends got punted away, and that meant that Sheer was just teleporting in to feed anyone's legend a freebie.
And Flandre also teleports in, and he's going to be able to turn that into a bottom lane wave. And this is going to be the second Drake of the game going over to AL. They are in complete and utter control. And even in a situation where FPX feel like they've potentially found a catch, there's nothing that they can do about this one. AL, they are just dominating this first game.
7,000 gold ahead at 19 minutes. Otacon's about to spawn. This feels like it's just going to be a free one for anyone's legend to take. And you almost think that if FPX don't fight it at this Otacon, there's never going to be another good chance for them to get back into this game, because it is just too far gone to try and claw their way back in.
No, I mean, you called it out perfectly. This wall slam's really nice that Tarzan's able to find. At this point in the game, I'm a little worried for Tarzan. He's kind of caught in the chicken pit, but he doesn't think he's caught. He thinks he's caught his opponents right on the very edge of that wall, stuns up Kael, and it's again Jwei with a pop blossom to stop the big engage from happening, rather than being able to find the big engage for his team. Constantly having to use this pop blossom defensively is really hurting FPX, but it's not Jwei's fault. He doesn't have the angles to go in right now. AL are simply not allowing them.
And you know things are dire when, as an eco, you can't even go for Protobell, a heavy damage item. He went for Redemption just because the team needs so much more healing so that the other carries can find a little bit of extra sustain to last and get more spell rotations, more auto attacks off to try and combat against anyone's legend. But like we said before, Bloxxer, they are so far ahead of the curve now, and it just seems like anyone's legend are just a couple of good fights away from being able to close out this game. Tarzan with a good wall slam right on top of the carries. The equalizer from beyond wherever Flandre was, and anyone's legend already find their first pick onto Jwei in the fight. JiaQi forced to flash away. Shanks gonna follow up through, sends another disintegrate, and is he looking for IYY next? Tibbers is gonna burn him to a crisp. Anyone's legend just rolling over FPX this game one.
Tarzan is an absolute sniper with that heroic charge, constantly finding the thinnest of walls to be able to get those stuns onto, and just gives his team every advantage going into the fights and the skirmishes. The rest of the members following up beautifully as well. Shanks has been on an absolute tear throughout this game. Bloodletters, Malignants in inventory, constantly has that Tibbers available to just rip the heads of the FPX members off. And they're going to take their prize. Atakan now into inventory as well. Up by, what is that, 7,000 gold.
My goodness, I mean, anyone's legend. They've already passed the point of no return that we normally deem for a lot of teams when it's 10,000 gold ahead. It's almost 11,000 for anyone's legend. So if FPX wanted a way back in this game, it's not just going to come from FPX's own merit. It would have to be a series, not just one, a series of consecutive throws from the Pandas.
It would have to be a serious series of unfortunate events for them at this point, because this combo is just, it's so nice to see. The combo between that heroic charge into Magnet Storm, what can you do at that point? And this is just sad, right? At this point, Shanks is just free hitting his way through. The burn coming through, absolutely miserable to try to play into as well. And AL, they didn't even gonna force Kael to use the ulti away. what was it we were saying earlier, Raafaa, about defensive use of offensive tools, right? Pop Blossom defensively. Not even that ulti from the Galio defensively to save someone. Defensively to save yourself. It's so rough.
It's not a counter-engage tool, it's an escape tool. And that's when things are really, really cooked for the FunPlus Phoenix squad. Trying to defend this tier 2 turn on the bottom side of the map. Hammer at the windup. Oh, doesn't hit anyone. So, okay. Anyone's Legend are down an ultimate tool. But I don't think the Pandas care. They're still going to step towards the Phoenixes.
Yeah, they are just pushing forwards right now. There's nothing else on the map for them to really go for at this point, so just establishing the control over this mid wave going to be incredibly important. Minute now until we get both the Drake and the Baron, so potentially an option here for FPX to go for whichever one AL don't want. At the same time, I think AL have got themselves enough power at this point to keep complete control over both of these objectives.
With another tier 2 turret falling in favor of anyone's Legend, we go back to the top of our show, talking about the series. Remember, this is anyone's Legend who had suffered a devastating loss to Top Esports just a couple nights ago, if not last night. And this team really needs to secure every series win possible just to make sure that they are in the top 4. This is our defending champions from Split 2.
Yeah.
They cannot be slipping against teams like FPX. And thankfully for anyone's Legends fans, they are showing that signature dominance they have come to really show themselves for, especially at the end of Split 2.
Interesting, it does look like AL are going to head up towards this Baron and just leave this Drake up and available. They don't care if you take this as FPX. FPX, though, they want to at least try for the Baron. They at least walk away from the Drake. They're not going to be able to contest onto this Baron whatsoever. Stepping up would certainly lead to their doom. They do get this Drake, though. That is something. They stop this Drake stacking. It's not going to be a 4 Drake soul for AL instantaneously, but now they have to deal with this Baron-empowered push, and they have already lost a heck of a lot of towers.
And I think anyone's Legend are completely fine with that trade, because they won't even need the soul to finish the game at this rate. Anyone's Legend, if they find a good fight here in the base of FPX, they could just end the game right here, right now.
Absolutely. Just going to get pushed on in. Baron Empowered Cannon is going to be very tricky to actually deal with right here. JiaQi trying his best, but there's going to be 2 of them chunking out this tower. IYY goes in.
IYY, he's all by himself onto the back line. He's just not doing enough damage to hope. Here comes the hero's entrance from Kael, but it just seems a little desynchronized and too late. They find 1 kill in a Kael thanks to Jwei's Blossom.
Shanks!
Tarzan blows him up, and look at Hope and Shanks working hand in hand just to completely dismantle and clip the wings of FunPlus Phoenix.
JiaQi just about going to be able to get himself away, potentially. Shanks thinking about it, but you don't really need to go for this. This is going to be the end for AL. They're going to take this game in under 30 minutes time, and it's been complete and utter domination from the defending champs from the very beginning to the very end.
Swift and decisive from the Pandas, and it's just like we wrote it up here, Bloxxer. Game 1 wrapped up for anyone's Legend.
And that is a deathless game onto 2 of the main carries right here for AL. Really indicative of the problem that FPX were having. They just couldn't get into the backline. There was no hope for Jwei to be able to pop Blossom into the backline. You never had the hero's entrance available to save all of your members. And that means that Shanks and Hope, they get away with this one completely deathless, chilling the entire game long.
Bloxxer, at this rate, we might have an early end to our show. FPX, we were hoping to see if there was going to be any signs of life coming into this Anyone's Legend series. Obviously, this is only game 1. A lot of the meta picks have already been picked and now will not be available going into game 2.
Yeah.
I don't know if FPX can just operate on standard picks. I really do believe in the power of some unconventional, creative niche picks that come out of players' pools to just try and throw anyone's Legend off. Please, if not for the win, for the entertainment factor.
That's true. That's true. You would be very excited to see some of these wild junglers, and we need to see something a little bit different, because in this game, with the standard picks in a straight-up matchup where, you know what, you had some late-game scaling, you had a couple of champions you could have potentially tried to play around early, what we end up seeing is basically nothing from FPX. They'd never get themselves into this game. They never managed to turn around any of these fights, and to be fair to them, this was an AL of old. This was a really solid game from them. Tarzan specifically on this Poppy, he'd be my pick for the MVP. A sniper with those heroic charges, just constantly finding thin angles to get that initial stun off, and then just running amok in the backline of FPX.
And even when anyone's legend wasn't necessarily killing the members of FPX outright, Tarzan knew that if I punt away these members, they've already been chunked by my team. Yes, we don't secure more kills for ourselves and get overall more gold, but we deny them any chance of being able to TP back in or rush back into the fight. And this gives us full control of the objectives. And that is always the smart play that I've come to appreciate about Tarzan over the course of his career, and what has really helped anyone's legend get to that endpoint of claiming their first title here in the LPL.
Yeah. And it's rough. It's sad out here for FPX. We really need to see them light a spark somewhere. But there was none in this game. There's a reason that we highlighted Jwei coming in. He feels like the best available member that they've still got right here on FPX, but he just wasn't allowed into this game whatsoever. On a power pick in the Nico as well, you could see barely 5,000 damage, which, yeah, he's a support. Is that a problem? Yes, it's a problem. It's a Nico. Like you said, no rocket belt available to him. The gold graph, just a straight win for AL. And it didn't feel like they had a chance to play this game. There was maybe one team fight early on in that game where there's a couple moments where you're like, okay, maybe this is going to work out for you. Nope, immediately snapped in half. Shanks turns around, drops Tibbers, and what can you do?
Yeah, I mean, the only parts of the game where I felt like FunPlus Phoenix were still in it was when Kael was able to find a proactive roam and at least picked up one kill for himself on Flandre, and I thought that the angle for FPX for this game was going to be, okay, you know what, Kael, try and proactively play around Sheer's advantage. Now that you know that Flandre is down summoner spells, maybe give an objective, try and just get this Gwen rolling, or help IYY, look for fast collapses, because that is always the advantage you can have over Annie. If Annie gets first push, but you're willing to drop your wave, which you can do on Galio, and just make the first move with Hero's Entrance, you should get there before Annie gets to influence the game. But FPX were never proactive with that kind of tools in their back pocket. It was always them, okay, well, anyone's legend got here first. We need to find a way to walk in. Okay, do you want to go walk first? Oh, we got 3-man Magnus Stormed. We got 3-man Tibber stuff. Okay, well, all right, guys, we lost the fight. What happened? And it's just always reactive play, never proactive gameplay.
They need a composition that they can go and beat aggressors on, because if you don't, we were talking about it at the start of the game, AL will take small advantages that